All right, Kevin, welcome to Baseball Night in America in San Francisco on a gorgeous afternoon. Game 2 of this 3-game set between the D-backs and the Giants. Welcome inside, Joe Davis, Bob Brenly. You know, you think about the Giants and their 3 World Series runs over the last 5 years. You think about pitching and defense mostly, but this addition to the team, the offense is really good.
Yeah, it's really kind of surprising. No Michael Morse, no Pablo Sandoval, Hunter Pence on the disabled list. You wonder where the offense would come from. Well, a lot of Giants are swinging it well, but for me the key is their leadoff hitter, Nori Aoki, getting on base at nearly a 400 clip, setting the table for those guys in the middle of the lineup.
Let's shift gears and talk about the Diamondbacks. Now, believe it or not, Arizona leads the National League in runs per game, and they're led by one of the more underappreciated sluggers in the game in Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I think people outside the state of Arizona or the National League West aren't real familiar with Paul Goldschmidt. His name is littered all over the leaderboards in every important offensive category. But more importantly, he's a good base runner. He's a Gold Glove defender down there at first base and the undisputed leader of what is a very young Diamondbacks team.
And he's starting to get some appreciation nationally, as evidenced by the fact that he's #1 among first basemen at All-Star voting, trying to start the All-Star game for the second time. No Diamondback has ever made 2 starts in an All-Star game. National League West is the most tightly contested division in the National League, top to bottom. These 2 teams, the Giants and the D-backs, ready to play Game 2 of this weekend set after this. Game 2 of this 3-game set between the Giants and the Diamondbacks. After the D-backs took the opener last night 1-0, they send this lineup to the plate in Game 2. A.J. Pollock makes his first start out of the leadoff spot in this month as they get Ender Inciarte a day off. Jake Lamb hits second. Then it's Goldschmidt, Tomas, Peralta, and Hill in the middle. Saltalamacchia, Ahmed, and Alan Webster making his Diamondbacks debut today. This lineup will do it against Ryan Vogelsong, 37 years old from Pennsylvania. Into the rotation with the injuries to Matt Cain and Jake Peavy.
Brian Vogelsong got off to a rough start this year, pitching partly out of the bullpen, partly out of the rotation, but his game is always the same. He has to command that sinker, keep it down in the zone, and if he does that, his defense will be very busy behind him this afternoon.
And it's been one of the best defenses in baseball this year. So they try to snap this mini 2-game skid, and even this series at a game apiece. Here is A.J. Pollock, sent to lead things off. Top 10 in the National League, hitting .323. And Vogelsong ready to go with his 11th start. Off we go as strike one, called by the crew chief Brian Gorman. First time since the last day of May that Pollock has hit leadoff. He spent the majority of his career in this spot, but Inciarte has been so valuable in the leadoff spot much of the year. He's settled into the 2-hole.
And the Diamondbacks expect that A.J. Pollock might settle into more of a run-producing spot lower in the order at some point in the very near future. They've been struggling to find a consistent cleanup hitter, and Pollock's name has come up, and he's actually hit for us for the Diamondbacks several times.
Off the end of the bat to first, Brandon Belt will take it to the bag for the first out of the game. So Pollock is retired. Belt with the first defensive chance for the Giants, part of this group. Aoki Pagan and Jarrett Parker in right field making his big league debut today. Matt Duffy's at third. Crawford and Panic, one of the top middle infield combos in baseball this year. Belt's at first, and Buster Posey, two-time All-Star, does the catching.
You said it, Joe. These are two of the best defensive teams in the National League, not only making all the routine plays, but the occasional highlight reel play.
Jake Lamb takes ball one. Hitting out of the 2 spot with Pollock up into the leadoff role today. Lamb came off the DL last week after missing about a month and a half. A stress reaction in his foot. He got off to such a good start before that injury, and really was part of the reason Yasmani Tomas didn't have an everyday role at that point, because of how good he was playing at third. 2 for 13 since coming back on Sunday.
Yeah, the return of Jake Lamb in a roundabout way prompted the trade of Mark Trumbo to the Seattle Mariners.
Lazy pop up left side. It's Crawford shielding his eyes from the sun, making the catch. 2 away. Let's look at our keys to the game, sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company.
The Diamondbacks have struggled all season long getting some production from the guys at the bottom of the order. The 4 guys at the top have done a really nice job. They need to get something from the guys down lower in the order. And for the Giants, home sweet home, they've dropped 6 in a row at one of the most home team friendly ballparks in all of baseball. 358 consecutive sellouts here at AT&T Park. They're not used to seeing a home team lose 6 in a row.
We scored 14 runs total in those 6 losses as Paul Goldschmidt fouls off the first one from Vogelsong. Strike one. 12 career home runs against the Giants, including the first of his career. Hit number 100 earlier this week in LA. Vogelsong trying to work a 1-2-3 first. Ball and a strike on Goldschmidt. He's reached in 22 games in a row. It's the longest on-base streak in the majors. For the guy that is leading the majors in on-base percentage. Vogelsong's 1-1. Hit hard up the middle, past the diving Panic, and a 2-out single for Goldschmidt. So make it 23 consecutive games reaching base for the surefire All-Star.
Paul Goldschmidt, not only a slugger, but he's just a good hitter, hitting over 350 coming into play today. He'll take what the opposing pitchers give him, which recently hasn't been a whole heck of a lot, but that time got a pitch he could drive back up the middle of the field for a 2-out base hit.
It keeps the inning alive for Yasmani Tomas. Who you mentioned has started to settle into that cleanup role behind Goldschmidt, trying to find some protection for him. Chip Hill told us before the game today that one of the reasons he likes Tomas in this spot is because he's fearless. He's not a guy that's going to read into the fact that he's got to protect Goldschmidt.
Yeah, some guys it's just human nature. You put him in that cleanup spot behind one of the best hitters in the game, a guy that's on base all the time, and some guys put a little too much pressure on themselves to come through as that number 4 hitter, but Tomas takes it at bat by at bat and lets it go, whether he's had success or whether he's failed.
Big offseason signing for Arizona, 6 years, $68.5 million out of Cuba. Waits on this 0-1 from Vogelsong. Ball 1. Diamondbacks outbid a number of teams for his services. Giants were interested in him. But ultimately he winds up in Arizona and actually started the season in AAA. So they had him working on playing third with a crowded outfield to begin the year.
It's been kind of fun to watch Tomas as he's grown into this role. Everything's new to him coming from Cuba. It was a new culture, a new language, a new team, new surroundings. And early on in spring training, everybody around the ball club wondered if he would ever pull a ball. Everything he hit was to the right side of the field. Very much has an inside-out swing, which accounts for the high batting average. But as time has progressed, he's picked his spots, he's picked his counts to look for something to pull to left field.
And Chip Hill was joking around with us prior to the game today. He said early on he told somebody that Yasmani Tomas is the best 4-hole hitter in baseball, and he wasn't talking about in the batting order. He meant the 4-hole on the infield the other way. A guy with a reputation for power. And he's ahead of the count, 3-1. Really, what he's done so far at his time with the Diamondbacks has been the opposite of what his reputation was coming in.
He was rumored to be very much a free swinger, strikes out a lot, will hit for power, has good power to the opposite field, but he's been anything but that for the Diamondbacks. He's shown some patience. He's shown the ability to make contact, especially with 2 strikes.
Here's the 3-1. And he earns the walk. Back-to-back 2-out base runners for the Diamondbacks after Vogelsong retired Pollock and Lamb. So 2 on with 2 outs for first-year manager Chip Hale, who's doing a nice job with the youngest roster in Major League Baseball. First season of his first big league managerial job. Time in the minors as a manager in the D-back system. Here's David Peralta taking strike 1. Hitting 5th today, making his first start since Tuesday. Part of that outfield rotation for Chip Hill. Waits on this 0-1. Base hit into center. Goldschmidt headed home. Pagan's throw goes to third and is cut off. And 3 consecutive base runners with 2 outs plates the game's first run. Peralta with an RBI single. It's 1-0 Arizona.
This is something the Diamondbacks have been doing all season long. They score more runs than anybody in baseball with 2 outs in the inning. David Peralta picks on a fastball right down the middle of the plate and sends it right back where it came from.
He had such a great big league debut last year, did Peralta, but the crowded outfield this year, playing time has not been as great. Comes through with a base hit in the first. Now Aaron Hill taking strike 1. Well, speaking of playing time not being as great, Aaron Hill can attest to that. 11-year veteran that over the last 2 years has seen his role go down as the Diamondbacks have gotten younger, especially in the infield. They're getting the start today against a guy that he's dominated over the course of his career. He's the best hitter against Ryan Vogelsong among any player in baseball that has enough at-bats to qualify.
For David Peralta, that was his 19th 2-out RBI out of his 30 on the season.
Vogelsong retired the first 2 quickly. Single for Goldschmidt. A walk for Tomas. And Peralta with that RBI single. He's falling behind Hill, 2-1. Runner takes off, pitches low, throw to second is not in time, and Peralta's got a stolen base. Only his third of the season. These aggressive Diamondbacks put another man in scoring position.
Chip Hale gives a lot of credit for the Diamondbacks running game to first base coach Dave McKay, longtime first base coach at the major league level, specifically for Tony La Russa. But he's very, very good at picking out little things in a pitcher's delivery that will tip off when he's going home and when he's coming to first. And the Diamondbacks try to take advantage of all those little tips.
Second walk of the frame loads the bases. So that's 4 consecutive base runners for the Diamondbacks. And it brings a visit, Dave Righetti.
And Vogelsong, one of those pitchers throughout his career, if you allow him to get settled in out there on the mound and find the right split between his fastball and his changeup, allow him to find the corners of the plate, he's a guy that can pitch deep into the ball game, give your team a chance to win. This is usually the MO for most teams against Vogelsong. Try to jump him early.
You mentioned it earlier, kind of an up and down season for him. 0-2 with an ERA above 9 in April. And he was unbeaten with an ERA around 1 in May, but is coming off his worst outing since April. On Sunday against the Phillies, gave up 5 runs on 7 hits. Jared Saltalamacchia with a bases loaded opportunity. Ball 1. 3 grand slams in his career. Getting the start today largely because of who's on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Alan Webster, a guy that he caught both in AAA earlier this year and for the Red Sox 2 years ago. 1-1.
Yeah, Saltalamacchia and Wellington Castillo, the other catcher for the Diamondbacks, both here because of the injury to Tuffy Gosewich. Another guy that people don't know outside of Arizona, but one of the best defensive catchers in the game. Team has really missed his presence, and his .211 batting average notwithstanding, he was a big part of this team.
Wellington Castillo last night 3 hits to lead the way for the Diamondbacks. So first glance you're wondering why he's not in the lineup again. But some comfort for Alan Webster on his first start in a Diamondbacks uniform.
Yeah, a guy that's probably has enough going through his mind right now. It certainly should be a source of comfort to have a catcher that you've thrown to before, that knows your strengths and weaknesses, knows which buttons to push.
Vogelsong's 2-1. Drifts outside, and it's 3-1 on Saltalamacchia. He needed only 6 pitches to get the first 2 outs of the inning, but has labored since with a pair of singles and a pair of walks. And now a dangerous spot to a guy who's got some pop. Ball 4, he's walked in a run with his 3rd walk of the inning. And it's 2-0 D-backs. So Tomas is in. Saltalamacchia picks up an RBI. And already some movement down in that Giants bullpen. For whatever reason against Arizona this year, he has really struggled. Comes into this one with an ERA above 10 and an opponent's average above 350 against Arizona in 2 outings. 8th man to the bat in the inning is Nick Ahmed, and he takes one that's not close. Ball 1.
I'll tell you, that number's kind of surprising to me. The walks to the Diamondbacks by Ryan Vogelsong, because the D-backs aren't necessarily a real patient team. They like to swing the bats, and they're very aggressive against most starting pitchers, but for whatever reason they must see the ball very well against Vogelsong.
Yusmeiro Petit starting to loosen up. With 2 gone in this first inning. Here's a 1-0. 1-1. Well, prior to that outing on Sunday for Vogelsong, where he gave up the 5 runs over 6 2/3 in Philly, he'd made quality starts in 5 of his previous 6 games.
The possibility that Alan Webster gets an at bat before he throws a pitch.
It will be his first big league at bat. As Vogelsong brings a 1-1. Ahmed pops it back, 1-2. Trying to limit the damage to 2. RBI single for Peralta and a bases loaded walk for Saltalamacchia. Played in the 2 Arizona runs. Vogelsong's 1-2. He's thrown 30 pitches in this first inning.
For a manager, this is why they invented antacids. Send a veteran control and command pitcher out there to the mound and just can't seem to find the strike zone here early.
Ahmed lays off ball 3. Count goes full. Runners will get a head start. With 2 already in for Arizona in this first inning. Second pitch of this first is popped away. So Ahmed making Vogelsong work. Ahmed out of the 8th spot. Really slow start this year. Hit 140 in April, but has quietly started to turn it on. 260 since the month of April. Peralta's at 3rd, Hill's at 2nd, Saltalamacchia's at 1st, and another 3-2. Outside ball 4. He's walked in another run. This time on a borderline pitch. 3-0 Arizona.
It's pretty tough to beg for borderline pitches when Vogelsong has missed the strike zone as much as he had. Not as close as Buster Posey made it look right there, and certainly some frustration on the part of Ryan Vogelsong.
And so you said it. How about it? Here's Alan Webster making an at-bat before he throws a pitch in a Diamondbacks uniform.
And I would assume he's not going to swing until he gets a 2-strike count. Continue to make Vogelsong work and throw pitches.
First time in his career he's walked 4 in the first. There's a strike. Got A.J. Pollock to ground out weakly. And a lazy pop up from Jake Lamb. But 2 singles and 4 walks since then. One and two. All 6 base runners with 2 outs for Arizona. Bases still loaded. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Alan Webster. Vogelsong nearing 40 pitches in this first inning. Petit's ready to go. And a 2-2. Line shot to center. Pagan runs under it to finish the inning. But it takes 39 pitches for Vogelsong. And the D-backs get 3 before Alan Webster takes the ball. Against Ryan Vogelsong, and now the Giants come to the plate for the first time with this batting order. Nori Aoki, the best hitter in baseball over the last month, hitting .411 over the last 30 days. Then it's Joe Panik and Angel Pagan with Posey, Belt, Crawford in the middle. Duffy bats 7. Jared Parker makes his big league debut out of the 8th spot. The pitcher Vogelsong batting 9. D-backs debut for Alan Webster, 25 years old, acquired in the offseason Wade Miley deal from Boston.
Numbers aren't pretty down in Reno, but anybody that's seen a ball game down in Reno will tell you the numbers don't always tell the whole story. The eye test says that Alan Webster's been throwing the ball well. He can reach the upper 90s with a 4-seam fastball, but he's much more effective when he pitches around 92, 93 with a sinker, and when he's down in the zone, he gets a lot of ground balls, also has a put-away straight changeup.
He's off to a pretty good start. That was his first big league at bat to finish this inning. He hit it solid, right? Right on the screws to center.
Waiting for a good pitch to hit. That's what he'll tell you after the game.
Yeah. And he gets to deal with the lineup that's been the best in the National League since a slow start. 3 runs per game in April, close to 5 runs per game since to lead the National League. And Nori Aoki went 0 for 4 last night to have an 8-game hitting streak snap. Has been so huge for this Giants team in his first season after coming over from the Royals in the offseason. Alan Webster's D-backs debut begins with strike 1. He's the only guy in this lineup that has faced Webster. Both members of the American League last year with Aoki in Kansas City, Webster in Boston.
Hey, you mentioned Jared Saltalamacchia has caught for Alan Webster when they were both members of the Red Sox, and Saltalamacchia was raving about his straight changeup, and given the success Chase Anderson had last night with a straight changeup, I imagine we'll see a lot of them today. There was one right there.
Yeah, how about Chase Anderson last night in that 1-0 Arizona win? Took a no-hitter into the 7th. Limited the Giants to just 2 hits. 1-2. 2-2. 18 career big league games for Webster, all in a Boston uniform. Is 2-2 to Aoki. Into the hands, pop back of first. Goldschmidt will make the play and foul ground for the first out. Part of this Diamondbacks defense has been a strength by some defensive metrics. Considered the best defensive team in the National League. Peralta, Pollock, and Tomas in the outfield, with Ahmed and Hill in the middle. Goldschmidt at first. Saltalamacchia does the catching. And I don't think Tomas is playing both spots, so that'd be impressive if he found a way to.
He has that kind of range. Yeah, he can play right field and third base. Of course, Jake Lamb getting the start at third base today. Tomas out in right field, but certainly an easy mistake to make. I do it on my scorecard every day.
And Tomas, an outfielder by trade, but the D-backs have worked him at third base early on this season. Joe Panik has solved the issues that the Giants were having at second base midway through last year. They had 8 different players make a start at second base in 2014. He took over the job midway through the summer and has been really good. A lot of people were calling for the Giants to make a deal to go get a second baseman. They were able to plug that hole from within. In fact, the entire Giants infield is from within. All 5 starters, if you include Buster Posey, were drafted by the Giants. Webster to Panik with a 3-1 and ball 4. Bruce Bochy got his 700th win as Giants manager earlier this week, and it came in Chris Heston's no-hitter, an appropriate way for the future Hall of Famer to get number 700.
And Boch is one of those guys that always defers the credit. It's always his coaching staff. It's always the players. It's always the front office. It's never anything that he did, but it's tough to argue with the results. With Bruce Bochy sitting in that hot seat down there in the third base dugout, the Giants have had an unbelievable run of success.
Ball 1 to Angel Pagan, and Saltalamacchia goes out to talk with Webster. How big of a deal is that, having a guy you're comfortable with as a pitcher in a spot where you're going to be nervous to begin with?
I think it would be huge. Obviously, you know, I've had the fortune or misfortune of catching a lot of guys making their big league debut, and you know, some guys handle it very well. That's what they've looked forward to their whole lives. Other guys get a little jumpy out there. But certainly to have a familiar voice and a familiar guy hanging signs for you behind the plate, it has to be somewhat comforting to Alan Webster.
Here's his 1-0 off the plate. Goldschmidt waits on it and will tag Pagan. Up to second goes Panik. Angel Pagan now hitless in his last 15 at-bats. 2 outs in the first. Up comes Buster Posey. He broke up that no-hitter in the 7th inning last night with a 1-out single off of Chase Anderson. Couldn't recover in time to throw Posey out. The Giants would get just one more hit and that 1-0 Arizona win.
And certainly a lot of the credit last night has to go to Chase Anderson, who pitched a tremendous ball game for the Diamondbacks. But the Giants were coming off a night game in New York. They flew all night, got back in here to the Bay Area about 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's understandable that your offense would be a little bit flat behind Madison Bumgarner after a night like that.
2-0. Well, they missed their curfew to be able to get into the plane at LaGuardia, so they had to fly to JFK instead. And then they were delayed once they flew out to JFK. Apparently there was a Saudi Arabian prince and his entourage that were first up, so they had to sit on the runway and wait an extra amount of time. And didn't get home until the wee hours yesterday morning.
That'll make a great chapter in a book someday for Bruce Bochy.
Now, the knock on Webster in his career so far has been a lack of control. He walked Panik, And he's walked Posey. Mike Harkey, pitching coach, comes out. This has not been the sharpest pitched first inning you'll ever see. 4 walks in the top half of this inning by Vogelsong. And now 2 in the bottom half.
Walking Buster Posey, it's a lot like opposing teams walking Paul Goldschmidt. You'll take your chances with whoever's in that next spot in the lineup. But in the case of Brandon Belt, he's having himself a nice offensive year as well. Hitting .290 with 8 homers, 28 driven in.
One of the many guys in this Giants lineup having a career year. Former Texas Longhorn. 5th season in the Bigs. 4th year as the everyday first baseman. And he has been hitting the ball hard most of the season. Bit of a slow start, but has really gotten it going over the last month plus. Chops one foul, strike one. In fact, only Giancarlo Stanton has a higher hard hit percentage than Brandon Belt. All of baseball. Entered the season about 30% in his career hard hit balls. He's around 50% this season.
I think that could be a byproduct of Brandon Belt hitting the ball to all fields this year. In the past, he had been pretty much a dead pull hitter. But this year, he's sprayed his hits around pretty evenly, left, center, and right.
I think it's another thing that makes this Giants lineup as good as it is. You don't have many dead pull hitters. You don't see very many dead pull shifts on this team at all. They've got one on Belt, but you're hard pressed to find anybody else in the lineup that warrants this.
Diamondbacks shift about as much as any team in baseball, and it came into play last night in Chase Anderson's attempt to throw a no-hitter. They hit some balls right into the teeth of the exaggerated pull shift. Chase Anderson in the middle right there, explaining to his teammates how good he was last night.
Webster trying to pitch around a couple of first inning walks. His 0-2 is tapped gently along first, but it hit him in the box. We'll do the 0-2 again. His next pitch will be the 60th total of his first inning.
Yeah, it looked like I got a piece of Brandon Belt's front foot right there, right off the shoelaces and on down the first baseline. That was a changeup that time by Alan Webster, just off the end of the bat and then right off the shoe.
Panic at second, Posey at first with 2 gone in this first inning, and Webster with another 0-2. Line drive foul wide of first.
Webster trying to put him away with changeup. That was 3 in a row right there. That one a little bit closer to the foul line past Paul Goldschmidt.
Three straight 0-2 pitches fouled off by Belt. Running that first inning pitch count up on Alan Webster. Saltalamacchia sets inside, and he misses high with a fastball, 1-2.
Now that pitch has been a work in progress for Alan Webster. Once again, talking to Jared Saltalamacchia. Some guys call it an off-the-body sinker, or the one that starts off the plate inside. You try to freeze the left-handed hitter and then get that late movement back to the inside corner. It's been a pitch he's been working on all year down in Reno.
Into center. Pollock comes out and makes the play. There's some of that defense. It's been such a strength for the Diamondbacks this season. The Giants leave 2 thanks to A.J. Pollock taking a base hit away from Brandon Belt. Cast is sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company, the first ever MKC. Couldn't ask for a nicer day for baseball in San Francisco. 3-0 D-backs as we start the second. Joe Davis and Bob Brenly at AT&T Park. Ryan Vogelsong delivers a strike to A.J. Pollock after a 39-pitch first inning that began by him getting Pollock to ground out weakly. A few pitches later, he got Jake Lamb to pop out. But then 6 in a row reached. It included 4 walks in that opening frame.
Well, there's no question this is going to end up being a bullpen day for the Giants. I mean, Ryan Vogelsong is a 5 or 6 inning pitcher at best when he's on top of his game. And after throwing 39 in the first inning, even if he has reasonably quick innings, he's probably only going to go 5 today.
Guy that was drafted back in 1998 by the Giants and debuted with the Giants the year that this ballpark opened in 2000. Brings it 2-1. Pollock waits on an off speed and rips it into center. A.J. Pollock with a leadoff single here in the second. Our coverage of the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup continues Monday. Thailand takes on Germany on your local Fox affiliate. Then the Netherlands and host nation Canada on Fox Sports 1. Tuesday, Team USA continues their quest facing Nigeria. The final group game on your local Fox station. You catch the entire tournament streaming live on Fox Sports Go. There's the women's national team playing Sweden to a draw last night. Still in the driver's seat to be able to advance out of the group. Jake Lamb up for the second time today. Foul ground. Duffy with room. So Lamb is twice popped out to the left side. One away in the second as Paul Goldschmidt comes to the plate for the second time today. One of the best hitters in baseball again this season. And really, over the last 3 years, nobody's been better. Finished second in the MVP voting 2 years ago. Last year was on pace to be in the discussion before the broken hand. And again, right at the forefront, the best player discussion in all of baseball.
Yeah, I've been around the game a long time, Joe, and this is one of the most conscientious players I've ever seen. He's well prepared. He gives 100% effort every day, regardless of the circumstances or the score on the board. Just an absolute joy to watch. I'm sure he's an absolute joy to manage.
And a first inning single came around to score Arizona's first run and has now reached in 23 consecutive games. Goldschmidt hits it hard to third. Duffy to second. One panic to first. A double play. Giants go around the horn in a much needed 7-pitch inning for Ryan Vogelsong to somewhat get back on track. sponsored by T-Mobile. Switch to the Data Strong network. Back in San Francisco, looking out of McCovey Cove. This comfortable Saturday evening, 3-0 D-backs. And Brandon Crawford set to lead off the second inning for the Giants, with Duffy and Parker to follow. Alan Webster begins this inning with a fastball strike. Webster, the numbers in AAA did not warrant a call-up. He's 1-2 with an ERA of 9 as he battled through shoulder fatigue. And Chip Hale even admitted to us, he said, that's the first thing you see when he found out he was going to be the guy to come up into the rotation. But the reports that they've gotten from AAA are that those numbers are far from a reflection of how well he's throwing the ball. Hit high to left. Peralta is under it. And Crawford the first out of the inning.
Yeah, certainly Reno is one of the toughest places to pitch in all of the minor leagues. Very thin air. The ball really jumps. And, Chip said he passed the eye test. Mike Parrott, the pitching coach down at Reno at AAA, said he was pleased with the way his pitches were moving, the way he was attacking hitters. The results weren't always there, but Webster the guy to get the call today in place of Josh Colmenter, who moves to the bullpen.
Now Matt Duffy taking a strike. And the D-backs leading the National League in runs per game, but it's been the rotation that's been the issue. You mentioned Colmenter moving into the bullpen. He was the opening day starter. 1 ball, 1 strike on Duffy. Hellickson, De La Rosa, Colmenter, all in the bottom 15 of the National League in earned run average. Chase Anderson's been really the only consistent bright spot. Although Robbie Ray has given him a nice shot in the arm lately. Yeah, a couple of spot starts and did so well. He's eventually now worked his way into the rotation. And for Josh Colmenter, really not a huge surprise. He has been much better throughout his career as a relief pitcher. Ground ball to second. Aaron Hill, 2 up and 2 down in this second inning. For Josh Colmenter, his ERA as a starter as a member of the Diamondbacks just over 4, as a reliever under 2.5. A lot of people think it's overexposure. He's a guy that throws his fastball in the mid-80s, has a tremendous straight changeup and a slow curve, and the more you see it, the better handle you get on it. So probably better served being in the bullpen. Big league debut for Jarrett Parker, who attacks the first pitch and grounds it foul. Saw the numbers at AAA Sacramento for him. Nearly half of his hits were for extra bases. He was called up once last year, was on the team for 1 day, but didn't play. And so this, the first at bat, the big league uniform. This is kind of an interesting guy moving forward for the Giants because, as you mentioned, he's got some pop in his bat, double-digit home runs every season in the minor leagues, and he can also steal bases. Over the top of that change, 1-2. Was called up with Hunter Pence officially going onto the disabled list. Retroactive to earlier this month as he deals with some tendonitis related to that broken forearm. Here's a 1-2. Tails inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Gregor Blanco also on the disabled list at this point with concussion-like symptoms. So the Giants in need of a 4th outfielder. Parker was the guy they called to. Strikes out in his first big league at bat. Alan Webster gets his first strikeout as a D-back. Baseball Night in America will return after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Now it's time to vote for your All-Stars with the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot for the 2015 All-Star Game. You can go to MLB.com/vote. Catch all the excitement of the 86th MLB All-Star Game, July 14th, live on Fox. Joe Davis with former All-Star Bob Brentley.
Well, you've got a good memory, or somebody's feeding you stats over there.
Yes, Monty Tomas hopes there's an All-Star game in his future. He takes a strike, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. The one All-Star game I was fortunate enough to play in was right here in San Francisco at Candlestick Park, just down the road where it used to be. Candlestick is no more.
Off speed is outside, 2-1. This is a little nicer environment than Candlestick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it served its purpose, and it was a wonderful home ballpark for the Giants for a long time. But, man, it's tough to top AT&T.
Tomas shoots it the other way, 2-2. You've got a little bit of history with both of these clubs. All-Star in '84 with the Giants. Look at that bat flip. And then former manager of the D-backs, world champion in 2001.
Yeah, thank goodness you didn't run that tape any longer. I hyperventilated when I got down to the first baseline. I had to bend over and let some blood get back into my brain there. That was quite a moment. I'll tell you, there's no way to anticipate what that feels like until you actually go through it. Turned us all into 5-year-old kids.
In just the 4th year of the Diamondbacks' existence. Tomas shoots one the other way. Panic is ready for it. 1 out. Up comes David Peralta, who had a sharp single his first time to bring in one of the 3 first-inning runs. As the Diamondbacks batted around against Vogelsong in that first inning. That ball's hit in the air well to center. Pagan back on it, turning at the track. It's off the wall. Plays it perfectly and holds Peralta to a long single. But it's not like Pagan's got a cannon. And Peralta unable to turn this into extra bases.
Fastball up in the zone about belt high, and Peralta looked like he got all of it. And what a great play by Angel Pagan. He just kind of decoys like it's going to leave the ballpark, then turns and squares up to the wall to play that carom perfectly and hold Peralta to a long single. Yeah.
That's why.
Yep. Okay. I think it was the deke that Angel Pagan put on out there in center field. He just kind of broke it down, looking up into the bleachers like he thought it was going to leave the ballpark, and Peralta saw that and didn't run hard all the way to first.
Similar outcome to the ball Tomas hit in L.A. the other night, which he crushed to center. Jack Peterson played it perfectly off of the wall and held Tomas to a single. He had about, 1,400 feet of batted balls and 5 total bases. There's a fly ball to right. Parker coming on, making the play. Back to first goes Peralta, 2 gone. So what was the progression for Tomas in that? He lined a single off of the wall in center. He got robbed of a home run.
Yep.
Then he decided let's get it out of here.
Yeah, I got a breaking ball and pulled it to left field way out. Well, I'll tell you, Dodger Stadium, I don't know if you've been there yet this year, Joe, but that place is playing like a bandbox. People in L.A. say it's because of the drought. It's much, there's not that marine layer that used to come in late in the ball game and wet the grass and knock down fly balls. I mean, that place is playing like Coors Field.
Saltalamacchia takes strike 1. How about the ball Giancarlo Stanton hit out of Dodger Stadium?
Is there a stadium he can't hit it out of? He hit another one today, I believe, number 23 on the season.
So he's got those majestic shots like the one that he hit out at Dodger Stadium, and then he hits some that look like they're line drive base hits in front of the left fielder. They wind up clearing the wall. I don't think it mattered if there was a drought or not on that ball that he hit.
I mean, there's only been a few balls hit out of Dodger Stadium. I know Willie Stargell had one over the right field pavilions. I think there were a few others, but that's the first one in a long time that's been hit over the pavilion roof.
Stargell, the only guy that did it multiple times. Mike Piazza did it.
And we're told Mark McGwire, now the Dodgers hitting coach, also hit one over the pavilion roof.
Vogelsong to Saltalamacchia with an 0-2. Just outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Saltalamacchia can reach. Ahmed would bat. Arizona in front 3-0 in this 3rd inning. Trying to clinch a series win after the 1-0 Arizona win in the opener last night. Saltalamacchia waits on this 2-2. And it runs full. 60th pitch. Ryan Vogelsong, who has walked 4. Given up 3 hits. It is back-to-back rough starts for Vogelsong after a really good stretch to the month of May. Peralta will take off from first and a 3-2. First strikeout of the game for Vogelsong. A 1-out single for Peralta, but that's all. 3-0. Backs 1-0 loss last night. They trail 3-0. Should go to the bottom of the 3rd, and Ryan Vogelsong takes strike 1 from Alan Webster. Vogelsong 3 hits and 22 ABs this season. And quickly behind 0-2.
There was a time in the top of the first inning it didn't look like Vogelsong was going to get an at-bat in this game, as Alan Webster got one in the first inning, but weathered the storm, starting to hit his spots a little better.
Webster makes quick work of his counterpart for his second punch out. One away in this third. Time now for tonight's Game Changer Profile. It's brought to you by T-Mobile, official sponsor of Game Changers. Hunter Pence, only 18 games total this season in a San Francisco uniform. He's been on the disabled list most of the year, and they've been a different team when they've had him.
Well, there's no question he's the emotional leader of this team, not to mention a source of power and speed in the middle of the lineup, and they desperately miss him. Bruce Bochy said that he would start doing some baseball activities Monday and Tuesday of next week. I think he's eligible to come off the DL on Thursday. Yep. It might be a little longer than that, but they will welcome him back with open arms as soon as he's ready.
I think it was Tim Hudson that said earlier this week, the guy's our mascot. You know, when you don't have him in the lineup, it's not just the fact that he's a good hitter. It's that intangible presence that he gives you.
You know, anybody that's ever been in a baseball clubhouse will tell you there's usually a guy or sometimes more than one guy on a team that when he walks through the clubhouse door, everything changes. There's an electricity, there's an energy in the room, and Hunter Pence is nothing but a raw nerve when he walks through that clubhouse door every day, just waiting to play baseball.
Aoki drags a bunt, testing the fielding of Webster, who's up to the challenge, and 2 gone here in the third. Joe Panik comes up. Let's learn 3 things about him.
First thing to know about me is that I love country music, even though I'm from New York. 2, I am a big hockey fan, New York Rangers, that's my team. And 3, my favorite movie is Gladiator. Love Russell Crowe. He's probably my favorite actor.
He takes a strike from Webster. It was a nice homecoming for him earlier this week with the Giants playing in New York against the Mets. A lot of friends and family there to watch him. Didn't just grow up in New York, but went to college there in NYC as well at St. John's. I think there were a lot of people that figured he would, as a first-round pick, you expect that he's going to be a big leaguer, but the numbers he's putting up, making a case to be an all-star here in his first full big league season. 1, 2, 3 go the Giants in the third. 3 shutout frames for Alan Webster, who leads 3-0. Surface and by the new movie Max in theaters everywhere June 26th. D-backs 3, Giants nothing. We start the 4th back in San Francisco. Joe Davis and Bob Brenly. Nick Ahmed comes up. 8-9-1 for the D-backs against Ryan Vogelsong, who walked Ahmed his first time. One of 4 first-inning walks. It helped the D-backs plate those 3 runs in the first inning. He settled in some over the last 2. Drops in a breaking ball, 1-1.
Nick Ahmed, when leading off an inning, especially hitting in that 8 spot, occasionally he'll try to bunt for a base hit. And with that in mind, Matt Duffy, the third baseman for the Giants, playing a step or 2 in front of the baseline down there at third.
Vogelsong's 1-2. It's 2-2. And Nick Ahmed.
You mentioned a slow start by Nick Ahmed this year, and throughout the minor league system of the Diamondbacks, everybody kept telling Chip Hale and his staff, be patient. This kid is always a slow starter. I mean, he was getting the bat knocked out of his hands in the month of April. Really had trouble contributing to the offense, but as time has gone on, with each passing week, he's starting to hit the ball with a little more authority, getting his base hits, using his speed once he does get on base.
Important to keep in mind, it's his first full big league season. Debuted with 25 games last year. Here's a 3-2, and it fights it off to see another. Drafted by the Braves in the 2nd round, 2011. Came over in the Justin Upton deal 2 years ago. Made his first opening day roster this year, as the D-backs have gone younger. He's the shortstop, with Chris Owings moving over to second most of the time. Another 3-2 and another foul ball.
And another player in that Justin Upton deal to the Braves, Brandon Drury, in the minor league system for the Diamondbacks, had a huge spring training out in Arizona. Scuffled a little bit at the beginning of the season, but he's another young player that came over in that trade that is going to work himself into the mix at some point in the near future.
Eighth pitch of this at-bat is ball 4, and the 5th walk issued by Vogelsong. Moments ago, we talked to his pitching coach Dave Righetti about his shaky start.
Well, he didn't get in the stretch as much, but the first thing he got himself in a little trouble there, and he started going to the corners and trying to nibble, and he squatted on a few and pulling balls off the plate. And, sometimes that happens. Guys, trying to stay away from a big inning ends up getting what they get like that. But he'll get it back together. You just got to attack some people now, and you got to cut some things on the plate a little bit, and hopefully you use your defense and you find yourself back in a dugout each inning. So yeah, you got to make those adjustments.
Dave, as a pitcher, you threw a no-hitter yourself, and your pitching staff seems to throw one every year, at least one every year. Is there any possible way to explain it? I mean, Chris Heston was outstanding against the Mets the other day.
No, you know that, Bobby. I mean, it's crazy. I think the Yankees went through a streak there where they had Gooden and Wells and Cone and Jimmy Abbott, I guess, too, and Doc. So that you go through those spells. I guess I didn't think it was going to happen here, but it's a pitcher's ballpark. Guys got a lot of confidence, and I guess good things will happen.
Dave, we appreciate the time.
All right, fellas.
Thanks, Rex.
All right, Bobby.
All right, so Alan Webster there was called out. The ball hit him after he laid down a pretty nice bunt. He scored that one unassisted. Now Ahmed has to go back to first base. Back to the top of the order with A.J. Pollock. He was 1 for 2 today with a single.
Yeah, Webster actually laid a nice bunt down on the first base side here, but in his effort to get down that baseline, the ball hit him right there, just ever so slightly on the outside of his left foot. Home plate umpire Brian Gorman right on top of it, called it immediately.
Posey sets inside. Pollock pulls a bouncing ball past Crawford at short, a base hit. His second hit of the day. And 2 on with 1 away in this 4th inning. We were talking with Dave Righetti about Chris Heston no-hitter earlier this week. Came in his 14th career start. First rookie in a Giants uniform to throw a no-hitter in more than 100 years. And in a day and age of power pitchers, the guy getting it done without overwhelming stuff.
Yeah, sinking and cutting and throwing sliders, kept everything on the corners of the plate with a lot of movement. It was fun to watch.
Giants are going to have some decisions to make as they get Peavy and Kane healthy. Bruce Bochy saying earlier today that he thinks 3 or 4 rehab starts more for both of those guys. Kane is scheduled to make a rehab start for AAA Sacramento on Monday. Peavy just made one the other night, and it didn't go too well. We still want to see more from those guys in the minors as they try to battle back. Jake Lamb taking inside, ball 1.
That's a good idea by Ryan Vogelsong. This Diamondbacks team has been very aggressive on the bases, whether it be first base, second base, or first and second. Got good speed in Nick Ahmed out at second base, A.J. Pollock at first. That inside move to second base is a great equalizer if a guy's going to try to steal third.
Vogelsong has fallen behind Lamb 2-0, and Yusmeiro Petit has started to warm again. Second time he's loosened up. First time was in the 1st inning. All 3 runs scored in that opening frame. He gets Lamb to pop up. All 3 ABs for Lamb have been pop outs to the left side. 2 outs.
As you mentioned, Jake Lamb just off the disabled list not too long ago, 10 days or so, and the timing just isn't quite there yet, which is a shame because Jake Lamb was raking before he had the foot injury.
Here's Goldschmidt with the 2-out opportunity, 1 for 2 today. Singled and scored in the first, and then grounded into a double play in the second. Two-time All-Star and the leading vote getter among first basemen in the National League right now, just ahead of Adrian Gonzalez. Is there a better position in either league than first base in the NL?
I don't know. I can't imagine a better position. I mean, all those guys, tremendous offensive, middle of the order run producers. Great defenders at first base, which is a very underrated aspect of that position.
There's that pickoff move to second. The second baseman panic sweeping in.
You know how important first base is defensively? When you have a bad first baseman.
Yeah, when you realize it, right?
Yeah, you see all those outs that are dropped over there at first base, or the guy can't quite get his footwork right when he gets to the bag, or pickoff attempts that are dropped at first base. Yeah, if you have a bad first baseman, you learn to appreciate a good one.
Only D. Gordon a higher average in the NL. Lays off a pitch outside, 2-0. Teams have continued to pitch around him. Twice as many intentional walks as any player in baseball this year. And only Bryce Harper has more walks overall. Lopez down to the bullpen as Goldschmidt takes a strike.
And the real issue is the 15 intentional walks to Paul Goldschmidt. The Diamondbacks are 0 for 13 with 2 walks after those intentionals.
Until somebody proves that they're dangerous in the spot behind him, he's going to continue to have to be patient. Waits on this 2-1 and takes strike 2. The 2-2 goes full. Runners will get a head start from first and second. Yet another full count. Ryan Vogelsong has seen a batter go to. 5th time already. "37-year-old laboring through this one. Trying to pitch around a walk and a single here in the 4th. There go the runners, and Goldschmidt fouls it off.
As I mentioned before, great speed on the bases right now for the Diamondbacks. Should Goldschmidt get a base hit, it's not out of the question that A.J. Pollock might try to score all the way from first base. Andy Green, the third base coach for the Diamondbacks, under the direction of manager Chip Hale, wants to be aggressive with their runners.
A lot of room in the outfield here in San Francisco. Another 3-2 to Goldschmidt. Hit hard, base hit to left. Off on the crack of the bat. Ahmed will score. RBI single for Paul Goldschmidt, and it's 4-0 Arizona.
Let's go, Nick. That's straight at back.
Boy, part of the reason Goldschmidt carries such a high batting average for a big-time power hitter is he's so quick to the ball. A lot of power hitters, you'll see a long, loopy swing. This is like a chop. He just gets the bat to the hitting zone as quickly as he can and gets an RBI single for his efforts.
And that is going to do it for Ryan Vogelsong. Yusmeiro Petit, who's been warming up for about an hour, will take the ball. Yusmeiro Petit replaces Ryan Vogelsong with 2 outs here in the 4th. And his first pitch to Yasmani Tomas is a fastball strike. So Vogelsong unable to make it out of the 4th. Petit comes on. He's a long man. Time in his career as a starter. Made a start earlier this year. Back in mid-May. Book not yet closed on Vogelsong. Runners at first and second. 1-1.
Diamondbacks are very familiar with Petit. A couple of years ago, he was 1 strike away from a perfect game against the Diamondbacks. Had a full count on Eric Chavez. Chavez got a base hit into right field. The only hit that Petit gave up in that ball game. He has been a real problem for the Diamondbacks.
Left one up. Tomas fouled it back, and he is a former Arizona Diamondback, 07 through 09. As part of his 8-year big league career. Spent at San Francisco for 4 years. A couple of rings for him. Part of this bullpen that's been so important during this really dynasty run. 3 titles over the last 5 years. Incredible continuity in the back end. He strikes out Tomas to finish this inning. But the D-backs chase Ryan Vogelsong with a 2-out base hit from Paul Goldschmidt, and it's 4-0 Arizona, middle 4. Three, 4, and 5 for the Giants here in the 4th inning. They trail 4-0. Angel Pagan leads off the frame against Alan Webster, who misses upstairs with ball 1. Pagan trying to snap an 0 for 15 slide. Came into the game hitting 125 in the month of June. Webster's 1-0. Strike 1. Trying to stay healthy for the first time in a couple of years. Of course, last year, the back problem that led to surgery, played in less than half the games. The year before, it was the hamstring that forced him to miss half the season as well. 2-1.
Saw the offensive struggles for the Giants last couple of ball games. It's kind of been that way, though, here at home. They're averaging just over 3 runs a game here at AT&T Park. Averaging just over 5 on the road.
Bouncing ball to first, and Goldschmidt takes it to the bag for the first out of the 4th inning. Between innings, we asked Alan Webster's manager what he thought of him so far.
Early on, a little shaky. I think he was a little nervous, but as you can see, he's got a lot of movement on that fastball, and we're just basically wanting to set in the middle and let it work, because he's getting it low, and that's the one thing that we look for here is some guys that can throw that sinker. Especially when we go back to Phoenix and pitch in that ballpark. His changeup's been just what we thought, good, and he's mixing the breaking ball, so he's doing a good job.
Chip, looking at your offense in that first inning against Ryan Vogelsong, a lot of very patient at bats. So is that your game plan going into it, facing the veteran?
Yeah, I think we faced him enough now. These guys know that he's going to, use the corners, and we'll see what the umpire zone is. and he just didn't seem to be able to hit the corners. So we did a good job. That's really not been our calling card. We've been a little more aggressive. So it was nice to see. We pitch counted him and had some really good at bats.
Appreciate the time, Chip.
Thank you.
Buster Posey at the plate now. Bounces one up the middle. Ahmed ranges behind the bag, and Alan Webster right now is mowing him down. That is 9 straight retired by Webster after he walked Posey in the first inning. He had those 2 first inning walks, and the Giants had a scoring opportunity, but no base runners since then.
And once again, with Brandon Belt making his way into that left-handed batter's box, the exaggerated pull shift employed by the Diamondbacks. That's Aaron Hill out in shallow right field, and the third baseman Jake Lamb moves over and takes the position where a second baseman would normally be. They leave the shortstop Nick Ahmed as the only defender on the left side of the field, figuring he has the best range of the group and he has the most ground to cover over there.
1-1 on Belt. Only the Marlins have a smaller pull percentage in baseball, so the Giants don't see a ton of shifts. Got guys that put the ball in play. They've got a really low strikeout rate. They've got guys that hit to all fields. That one might have clipped him, or did he get out of the way? Looks like he did. 2-1.
I think sometimes the shift, I mean, obviously they're employed because that's where the spray charts say that the guy hits the ball more often than not, as this sinker just got away a little bit from Alan Webster there, right underneath the feet of Brandon Belt. But I think there's a psychological advantage to using the shift on some hitters. You know, you look up and you see all the defenders on one side of the field, and he hits it right into the shift.
That's another 1-2-3 inning for Alan Webster, who has retired 10 in a row in his Diamondbacks debut. Ronnie Tomas to finish the 4th, beginning his outing in relief of Ryan Vogelsong. And back to work now with David Peralta leading off the inning for Arizona. There's ball 1. Good day for Peralta so far with a pair of singles. And in doing so, his numbers against Vogelsong now 7 for 11 in his career. And now facing Petit, and ahead of him 2-0. Peralta, former pitcher himself. He was signed by the Cardinals in '06 as a pitcher. Got released a few years later after a couple of shoulder surgeries. Transitioned to being an outfielder. Spent time in the independent leagues from 2011 to 2013. Trying to get another shot, trying to get noticed. And did by Diamondbacks scout. They gave him an opportunity in a minor league deal. Quickly made it to the big leagues for his debut last year. It was really good at 286. 2-1. In the air. Cracked the bat. Panic is there. The first out. Tonight's game is brought to you by Chevrolet, the official vehicle of Major League Baseball. Nice time lapse of the ballpark on this beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Well, those guys are really fast.
Really fast. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, the shadows are definitely going to become an issue as we move forward here. Just now covering the batter's boxes. Pitcher still in bright sunlight, as is the batter's eye in center field.
Hill rolls one to Crawford. 2 up, 2 down. Time for a game break. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt in Los Angeles. No, not when you consider all they did to revamp in the offseason. Kind of sealed the deal on the rebuild by shipping off Craig Kimbrell day before the season began. And now there they are, right in the mix in the National League East. Here's Saltalamacchia taking strike one. 0 for 1 today, and a bases loaded walk in the first inning. And then struck out in the third. 0-2.
Petit is a little bit of a rarity for a relief pitcher. He features a 4-pitch mix, throws a couple of different fastballs. He has a curve, a slider, a changeup. Of course, he's been a starting pitcher at various times throughout his career. He started some games for the Giants. But a nice piece to have out of the bullpen right now, a guy that can come in and eat up some innings when your starter has a short day.
Trying to work the first 1, 2, 3 inning of the day for the Giants, and does with an off speed to the top of the zone to strike out Saltalamacchia. A 9-pitch 4th inning for Yusmeiro Petit, a 4-0 lead for Alan Webster. Sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Find the world's most crooked road right there. Lombard Street in San Francisco. 4-0 Diamondbacks over the Giants as we go to the bottom of the 5th here in Game 2 of this series. And the Giants still looking for their first run of the series. Brandon Crawford to lead off this frame against Alan Webster, who has retired 10 straight since issuing a couple of walks in the first inning. This is the first time since 2001 that the Giants have had back-to-back games where they've gone the first 4 innings without a hit since Bob Brenly managed his way to that feat in 2001. It was all you.
Yeah, you just hand the ball to Kurt and Randy and say, go get him. I think actually it was Miguel Batista in one game or Brian Anderson. I'm not quite sure. Kurt Schilling in the second game.
Okay. Webster with a 1-1 to Crawford, who takes it low. 2 balls and a strike. Webster with 18 games with Boston over the last 2 years, 6-5 with an ERA above 6. And then an ERA of 9 in the minors this year as he battled shoulder fatigue. 2-2. But this is a guy that throughout his minor league career and even as recently as going into last season was considered one of the top 100 prospects in all of baseball. That didn't just happen. There is a reason for those rankings. Sharply hit, but right at Goldschmidt. 1 away. On Thursday, the greatest golfers in the world converge on the Pacific Northwest. Our coverage of the 115th U.S. Open Championship live from Chambers Bay Golf Course begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports 1, and then in prime time continues at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on your local Fox station. All streams live on Fox Sports Go. Should be great. Starts Thursday. Beautiful Chambers Bay and on Fox and Fox Sports 1. Now Duffy takes the first one from Webster low. For ball 1. Grounded out to second his first time. Of course, the Giants parting ways with Pablo Sandoval in the offseason. He goes to the Red Sox, and at this point it looks like that was a smart idea with Sandoval struggling to the worst numbers of his career in Boston. There's a hard hit fly ball to center. A.J. Pollock on the move with room at the edge of the track for the second out. And once again, this park just swallows a ball that's hit well.
Yeah, A.J. Pollock covers a lot of ground out there in center field, and this is a big outfield. Guys that can run fast, they like playing in big ballparks like this, and A.J. Pollock just in front of the barrier to the right of straightaway center makes the catch.
Terry Parker with 2 outs. And so Sandoval goes to the Red Sox. Giants signed Casey McGee, who they've gotten nothing from. Hit below 200, then was sent to AAA. He's back now, but it's become Matt Duffy's job at third. Jarrett Parker, meanwhile, getting an opportunity for his big league debut today with the injuries the Giants outfield. Pence and Blanco both eligible to come back within the next week. As Webster comes home with a 1-1 pitch. 1-2.
That's that sinker, off the body sinker. This was the one for strike 3 in his first at bat. Watch his face as he walks away here. Ooh. Yeah, this is the big leagues, all right. Well, some people call it a front door sinker or an off the body sinker. You kind of start it right at the left-handed hitter and tail it back over that inside corner.
Hooked that one off the end of the bat. Routine for Pollock. Another 1-2-3 inning for Alan Webster, who has retired 13 in a row over 5 no-hit innings against the Giants. It's 4-0 Arizona in San Francisco. broadcast is sponsored by the Dodge Brothers. 100 years later, their spirit lives on. Yeah, by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Back in San Francisco, on to the 6th inning with the Diamondbacks in front 4-0. 3 runs in the first, 1 run in the fourth, all charged to Ryan Vogelsong. Yusmeiro Petit has retired all 4 that he's faced and delivers ball 1 to Nick Ahmed, who's walked both times. 2 of the 5 walks that Vogelsong issued. Strike 1. Former Braves farmhand. First opening day roster this year for Ahmed. After a slow start, has gotten it going.
Boy, just absolutely a tough time. Watch the baseball disappear as it goes from the sunlight into the shade.
Ooh.
That's what a hitter has to deal with. Not only the lack of visibility, but the pitcher's not throwing every pitch straight. You're going to get sliders and sinkers and changeups and cutters, and yeah, you lose sight of it about halfway to home plate.
Lost sight of that one right into Posey's glove. 3rd strikeout for Petit. 1 away in the 6th inning. Time again to check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Orioles have gotten hot, Kevin, in that muddled American League East. Alan Webster takes a ball. Anybody's division at this point. There was a piece written in one of the Providence newspapers this morning about how yesterday Red Sox season came to an end. Blowing the lead against the Blue Jays, but the fact that division is so tight, even as bad as everything has been, as disappointing as it's been for Boston, they're still in it.
Yeah. The Red Sox going into play today were 7 games out of first place, even though they were 8 games under 500. Yeah, a lot of good races this year. A lot of teams are very evenly matched. And with the extra wild card team, I think a lot of teams think they're still in contention for a postseason berth, and will be for a long time into this year.
Webster strikes out swinging. 2 gone in the 6th. Petit has looked good, retiring all 6 that he's faced. Our Geico in-game box score: a couple of hits for Pollock and Goldschmidt, Peralta. The D-backs get 3 in the first and 1 in the fourth against Vogelsong and have this 4-0 lead. Top offense in the National League as far as runs per game, 4.5 per game this year. Just below that average through 5 innings in this one.
Yeah, 3 guys with 2 hits, but the walks really the story. A couple of RBI walks in that first inning by Ryan Vogelsong.
Back to the top, 4th trip to the order, and A.J. Pollock. Sharply hit to left. Aoki is there. That's a 1-2-3 inning. Shot by Yusmeiro Petit, who's retired all 7 that he's faced. With the MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights and more. You can go to MLB.com at bat now. Joaquin Arias pinch hitting, or hitting in the 9 spot. Alan Webster back to work. Quickly ahead of him, 0-2.
Yeah, Webster obviously dealing in this ball game, but he had a run of 6 consecutive ground ball outs before giving up 2 flies to center by Duffy and Parker, and that's kind of one of the things you look for as a sign that maybe a sinker ball pitcher starting to get the ball up a little bit, starting to get some elevation, hit the ball in the air. There's another pitch up.
And an easy out. Pulled in by Ahmed. One away here in the 6th. Since the 2-out walk in the first inning, nobody's reached against Webster. This is the 2nd day in a row the Giants have gone into the 6th without a hit. It's the first time since 1986, and you had quite a hand in that. Do you remember those back-to-back days against Houston?
Not specifically, but I know they had a great pitching staff back then. Mike Scott, Nolan Ryan, and Bob Nepper. They could give you a bunch of different looks, and I struggled against the Astros, period. The Dome wasn't my favorite place to play. I don't think it was anybody's favorite place to play.
Mike Broadway warming up for his big league debut. And Webster throwing to Aoki. 2-0. Aoki's 0 for 2 and 0 for 6 in this series. Giants with only 2 singles in this series. Aoki shows bunt, takes low, 3-0. Four-pitch walk to Aoki, and the first base runner since the opening frame against Webster. All 3 runners against him have been because of walks. And here's Joe Panik. He has one of those 3 walks, and then bounced to short. And Bruce Bochy was outspoken about his thoughts on the Mets choosing to play a late game Thursday night, forcing the Giants to take the late overnight flight. Didn't arrive until 4 a.m. in San Francisco yesterday morning. Panik rips a base hit down the right field line. First hit of the day for the Giants is a Joe Panik double.
We mentioned that Webster starting to get some pitches up, some balls elevated, hit in the air. This ball just below the belt, right in the middle of the plate for Joe Panik, and he scalds it down that first baseline past Paul Goldschmidt, putting Giants at 2nd and 3rd. I saw Paul Goldschmidt kind of shake his head there, frustrated with himself. He really bounced off the bag at first after holding on the runner, and Panik hit the ball right where he was.
So it took the Giants until the 7th to get their first hit in the opener yesterday. Takes them until the 6th to get the first hit against Alan Webster today. And up comes Angel Pagan with a chance to get the Giants on the board for the first time in this series. Pagan lifts it foul. Going back to Bruce Bochy talking about that long trip overnight. You know, obviously it's going to affect you that day, right? I mean, you were on the plane overnight, but Bochy made the point that it's not just that day. He thinks it takes a couple days for you to recover and really be yourself again.
Yeah, he said he was more concerned about the performance of his team today than he was in the ball game yesterday. So, and they certainly looked flat through the first 5 innings, but showing some signs of life here in the 6th.
Don't they say that you feel the night of sleep from 2 nights ago? Right, so if you have a short night of sleep on Thursday night, then yeah, Saturday would be the day where you didn't feel good.
What if you never get any sleep?
Guess you never feel good.
Well, and the first base hit of the ball game, that ringing double down the right field line by Panic, and Chip Hale immediately gets some activity in the bullpen. I've seen it happen so many times when a guy has carried a no-hitter or a perfect game into the middle part of the game and suddenly gives up that first hit, and it goes downhill in a hurry.
Webster to Pagan with an 0-2 pitch. In the air to left. Peralta runs over, still moving, makes the catch, tagging at third Aoki. He'll come home to score. And the Giants on the board on a sacrifice fly from Pagan. It's 4-1.
It earlier, Angel Pagan has been struggling a little bit lately. Has to feel good to contribute with that sac fly to left field to get his team on the board. He's been hitless in his last 18 at bats, but gets that sac fly RBI to left field.
So now Posey, the runner at second and 2 outs. Posey trying to extend a 7-game hitting streak. Broke up the no-hitter of Chase Anderson in the 7th inning last night. Today it's Joe Panic getting the first hit for the Giants. It comes with 1 out in the 6th against Alan Webster. It works from the stretch with an 0-1 to Posey. And Posey pulls a base hit into the left field corner. Panic scores easily on a Posey double. 4-2 in the 6th.
Buster Posey picks on what appeared to be a slider that just kind of spun up there on the inside part of the plate. Didn't get all of it. Hit it out toward the end of the bat just a little bit, but got enough of it to chase it down into that left field corner for another RBI. Short and compact to the ball. Talked about it with Paul Goldschmidt earlier in the ball game. Buster Posey right out of the same mold. A power hitter with a short, quick swing.
Saltalamacchia out to have a word with Webster, buy some time for a bullpen to get more loose. Chip Hale comes out with Delgado and Chafin to choose from among the warming Diamondbacks relievers. And he will go with the lefty Chafin. Alan Webster, nice job in his Diamondbacks debut. Leaves for the 4-2 lead. around here. Bottom of the 6th inning. Arizona's in front 4-2, and Andrew Chafin is into the game to try and keep it that way. Replacing Alan Webster, ready to face Brandon Belt.
See the numbers for Andrew Chafin this season: fastball, slurvy breaking ball, an occasional straight changeup. He's done a real nice job for Chip Hale out of that bullpen, matching up against lefties sometimes, at other times to eat up innings.
Belt goes after the first one, hits a 92-mile-per-hour fastball foul. Alan Webster, who had an ERA of 9 in AAA in his Diamondbacks debut, takes a no-hitter into the 6th. And gives up at least 2. The runner at second, his responsibility as well. But regardless, really encouraging thing for a team desperate for starting pitching. 1-1. The shadows have crossed the mound now, although the ball will still come out of the sunshine, out of the pitcher's hand. Another minute or two before it's no longer an issue.
And that sun that was beaming into the center fielder's eyes early in the ball game starting to work its way to the west. So now the guys on the right side of the infield are going to have to deal with some sunshine on balls hitting the air.
Yeah, and have fun, Yasmani Tomas, who's played mostly third this year. Now he's got to deal with that tricky right field here in San Francisco and the sun. And Chafin to Belt with a 2-2. On the ground is second. Aaron Hill will throw him out to finish the inning. But the Giants finally break through against Webster. RBI doubles from Panik and Posey. And it's 4-2. MLB All-Star Game ballot now at MLB.com/vote on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Vote up to 35 times. Just ask Royals fans at MLB.com/vote. Jake Lamb starting this inning against Mike Broadway, whose first big league pitch after 11 minor league seasons is a fastball for a strike.
Good numbers at AAA Sacramento this season. Nasty slider comes as advertised. Good fastball. He'll sink it. He'll cut it. Throws that hard slider. Has always been a hard thrower, but it's just been recently that he's been able to corral those pitches, keep them around the strike zone, and be an effective reliever.
And he starts his big league career with a strikeout of Jake Lamb. KB, what is up with A-Rod today? All right, Kevin, 4-2 in this one. Arizona with 4 2-out runs, 3 in the first and 1 in the fourth. And San Francisco getting 2 in the 6th. Here's Paul Goldschmidt. Swinging through a fastball for a strike.
Yeah, I talked about Buster Posey and Paul Goldschmidt and some similarities. They both have very short, quick swings, but even look at this in their setup in the batter's box. Got that bat pointed down toward the ground behind their right shoulder, hitting out of a little bit of a crouch, and both lightning quick to the ball.
Anything to be learned for young hitters from seeing 2 of the best in the game doing the same thing there?
You know, I've asked Goldie about it, and he said it's not a particular theory that some hitting coach espouses. It's just kind of evolved over time. It's just what he's comfortable doing. It just seems so ironic that 2 of the best hitters in the National League have a very similar setup in that right-handed batter's box.
Power against power. Broadway to Goldschmidt with a 2-1 pitch. Missed his spot, but got a strike.
A backup slider that time. The hitter's expecting it to move away from him, away and down, and that time it just kind of dropped straight down. Stayed on that inside corner.
Missed again and got away with it. It's Pagan to outs. Welcoming inside, Joe Davis and Bob Brentley. His Giants offense finally getting it cranked up a little bit after a really slow start to this series.
Yeah, slow start last night against Chase Anderson, a near no-hitter. Same thing today for Alan Webster, but it looks like the bats are starting to wake up a little bit. No surprise that Angel Pagan and Joe Panik and Buster Posey were right in the middle of it. They're right in the middle of everything all year.
Yasmani Tomas now. Bullpen has been perfect so far for the Giants. 7 up and 7 down for Yusmeiro Petit. Now Mike Broadway trying to execute a 1-2-3 first inning as a big leaguer. Tomas walked and scored in that 3-run first. Ground out and strikeout since. 1-1. And again, that slider slipping out of his hand and not doing much. Spent time in the minors with Atlanta, San Diego, Washington, now with the Giant system. And his 1-1 to Tomas. Ripped up the middle into center, base hit. Tomas with his first hit of the day. And it keeps this inning alive for David Peralta.
Looked like a glancing blow. Might have caught a piece of Broadway out there on the mound. That ball was really hit hard right back at him. Looked like it deflected and changed direction slightly as he tried to make that behind the back catch. And now the visibility problems that the hitters were having earlier, the pitcher's going to have the same issue when the ball's coming back at him, coming out of the shadows.
Well, now Broadway knows what it feels like to face him. It's one of his high 90s fastballs. Good day for Peralta. He's 2 for 3. Strike 1. First start since Tuesday for David Peralta. Part of this outfield rotation for Chip Hale. He was rotating with Ender Inciarte to begin the season. But Inciarte just so good, giving the lineup such a spark at the top that he's become an everyday player. Getting a day off today, but his success has led to less time for Peralta.
And Chip Hale's had to deal with that four-man rotation in the outfield all year. I mentioned Mark Trumbo earlier this season was the everyday right fielder, and A.J. Pollock, Ender Inciarte split time in center. David Peralta and Ender Inciarte split time in left. And Chip tried his best he could to keep everybody happy, get enough at bats to keep everybody sharp. And now with Trumbo gone, Yasmani Tomas enters the mix as a fourth outfielder.
And Jake Lamb coming off of the disabled list kind of was the thing that allowed all that to happen, allowed them to make the Trumbo deal because it freed up Tomas to move into the outfield from third. 0-2 to David Peralta. Will come after a toss to first from Broadway.
And the timing of that Trumbo trade, they got Wellington Castillo back, a catcher, right after Tuffy Gosowich, as I mentioned, injured a knee and out for the season. So they needed some help behind the plate, and Wellington Castillo wasn't getting much playing time up in Seattle, so it seemed to make sense for both ball clubs.
Mariners trying to get that offense going. It's been historically bad the last couple of weeks. Runner takes off, throw down in time. Crawford with a tag, and the inning is over. Thanks to the caught stealing from Posey. And a chance for Broadway to face the minimum in his big league debut. Hold them on the field to make sure they don't want to challenge this. Tomas didn't agree.
It looked like they got him, and I think Chip Hale agrees.
Yep, so he's gotten word that it was the right call. They stick with it. No challenge. 4-2. Starring Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane. Theaters June 26th. Stand by Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. Back in San Francisco. Brandon Crawford leading off the seventh against Andrew Chafin, who delivers strike one. Giants finally getting it going with a pair of runs in the sixth after Alan Webster held him without a hit over the first 5 innings. RBI sac fly Pagan, RBI double Posey. Crawford chases behind 0-2. And he strikes out swinging on 3 pitches for the first out of the 7th. Now time for Pepsi's most thrilling historical moments of the game. And this one was somewhat thrilling and somewhat something else for Bob Bradley back in 1986. A not very good inning. 4 errors in 1 inning.
Yeah. Allowed 4 unearned runs to score.
But there's a happy ending. Redemption for Mr. Brentley. Had a 2-run single that tied the game and then won the game with his 2nd homer of the day. 7-6 final score at Candlestick.
And my manager that day, Roger Craig, the old hum baby, said I should have been named comeback player of the year for that game alone.
Here's Matt Duffy, who shoots it the other way. Foul, 1-1. What was it like making those 4 errors in that half inning?
I can't even tell you. I wanted to hide. I tried to go over and talk to the third base umpire, and he just kept backing up. He didn't want to get anywhere near me.
Yeah.
Of course, I blame it all on Mike Lacoste, who was our starting pitcher that day, because everybody was hitting everything to me at third base. I was a catcher by trade. I was just playing third base for the day. Our regular third baseman was injured, so literally 10 minutes before game time, I had my gear on. I'm ready to go catch, and Roger Craig came up and said, hey, you're going to have to play third base today. And sure enough, the Braves just hit one ball after another down there. I actually booted another one on a line drive that tipped off the webbing of my glove and went into left field. And it was the biggest suspense at the ballpark. The crowd was waiting for error number 5.
It sounds like you maybe should have put the catcher's gear on.
Yeah, probably should have.
Went out there and just knocked him down.
Just
like you're...
Left it on,
yeah.
Probably would have had a better chance. Boy, that one went whistling into that first base dugout right there. Not much time to react. All right, Benny? This is a very tardy swing coming right at you.
One ball and 2 strikes on Duffy, and Chafin. This is in. 2-2. Woo!
You got to charge that ball, Benny.
yeah, like you got a lot of room to tell him about charging a ball, mister. 4 errors in an inning. Bounce to second. Aaron Hill. 2 up and 2 down in the 7th. Now it's time for tonight's game summary. It's sponsored by Budweiser. D-backs getting all 4 runs with 2 outs, 3 of them in the first inning, thanks to 4 walks in that frame from Ryan Vogelsong. Yeah, the Giants finally breaking through their first runs of the series with 2 in the 6th, but 2 quick outs in the 7th, executed by Andrew Chafin. Game 2 of this 3-game series. 1-0 Arizona last night, 4-2 in the 7th here. And Jared Parker, looking for his first big league hit, takes a strike. Maxwell is on deck with a pitcher's spot due up. Jeremy Affeldt getting loose. One of the mainstays of that bullpen. One of several guys that's been there for all 3 world championships. 1-1 to Parker.
A very veteran, very balanced bullpen that Bruce Bochy and Dave Righetti have used remarkably well over the years. Playing the matchups late in the game. Every guy has a role down there. They know exactly what part of the game they might be used, which opposing hitters they might face.
Affeldt, Lopez, Casilla, Romo, all together since August of 2010. So all part of the 3 World Series. Since the start of that 2010 bullpen, that 2010 season, only 2 bullpens in baseball have been better. Atlanta and surprisingly San Diego. Ugly swing and a miss at a ball in the dirt. And a low throw is dug out of there by Goldschmidt to finish the inning. Bookend K's in a scoreless 7th for Chafin and a 4-2 D-back lead. ball, but on one night they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game with coverage starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, Tuesday, July 14th, right here on Fox. David Peralta with a check swing foul on the first offering from Jeremy Affeldt, who is the third reliever into the game for San Francisco today. Ryan Vogelsong didn't make it through the 4th inning, so it was Petit and then Broadway and now Affeldt, who's 0-1, is looped into center for Pagan. Have you seen Bullseye? It's a reality competition that's out of control. The stunts are out of hand. You got to see it to believe it. It's a pure adrenaline rush. Catch an all-new Bullseye Wednesday, 9, 8 Central on Fox. Perfect day for baseball in San Francisco. Hill to the plate, 0 for 2 today with a walk. Hitless in his career against Jeremy Affeldt. And down in the count 0-1 on a breaking ball. So he starts the day by facing Ryan Vogelsong, who is the best hitter among all hitters in baseball against, and perhaps finishing his day against the guy he's 0 for 7 against. Couple of veterans going at it here. 14-year veteran on the mound, 11-year big league veteran in the box. Cranking one in the air to left center. They got under it. And Aoki puts it away for the second out. Hit it a mile high and had Aoki going back over into the sunshine. It started in the shade. And a rude surprise midway through that route.
I've been surprised watching Aoki in the first 2 games of this series. When he was the right fielder for the Milwaukee Brewers, he played as deep as any outfielder in the major leagues. Most of the time he had his heels on the warning track. But playing here at AT&T Park in left field, we've seen him play very shallow. We've seen him shade to the line. I'm not sure, maybe just didn't feel comfortable in right field, but certainly has made all the plays out in left.
Here's Saltalamacchia. 2 years in Milwaukee, 1 year in Kansas City, now in his first season in San Francisco for Nori Aoki. Speaking of changing colors, Jared Saltalamacchia has been all over the place. Longtime Brave. He was with Miami last year after spending some time in Boston. Started this season in Miami, but started the year 2 for 29 and was released. Signed a couple of days later to a minor league deal by Arizona. And then with the injury situation at catcher, was called up a few weeks ago. Waits on this 1-2. And pulls a bouncer to Crawford. 1-2-3 inning executed by Jeremy Affeldt, keeping it a 2-run game. Giving the Giants a chance as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Driving matters. And by Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. It's feeling it.
There's always interesting things to look at in the crowd here at AT&T Park.
Championship belt for a reason. He wins the day.
More cowbell.
Bottom of the 8th inning. Back in San Francisco, and Randall Delgado into the game to pitch. Double switch for the Diamondbacks. Ender Inciarte checks in right. So put him into the pitcher's spot. Yasmani Tomas out of the game. Inciarte due up second in the 9th inning. Here's Casey McGee pinch hitting to lead off the 8th and taking strike one from Delgado. It's been pretty good lately for this Diamondbacks bullpen, which has been used more than any other in baseball. It was McGee that was signed to replace Pablo Sandoval at third. That has not worked. He was sent down to AAA in May. Back up at this point, but he's lost his job to Matt Duffy. Leading off this 8th inning. 2-2.
Now the defensive move to put Inciarte in for Yasmani Tomas is pretty much standard operating procedure for Chip Hale late in ball games when the Diamondbacks have a lead. He wants to get his best defense on the field.
McGee lays off one that bites out of the zone, and he's run it full. After McGee, top of the order with Aoki. Then Panic. The Giants try to come from down 4-0. 3-2. McGee pulls a base hit into left field. Sharply hit off of the glove of Lamb. Tying run to the plate here in the 8th inning.
Casey McGee's just never been able to recapture that form he had in the 2010 season in Milwaukee when he drove in over 100, but still a very dangerous professional hitter and absolutely smokes one through the left side.
Back to the top of the Giants order. Here is Aoki, who walked and scored his last time up after pop on the ground out. Ball one. Casilla for the Giants. On a day where the bullpen has kept them in it after Vogelsong gave up 4. Delgado's 1-0. Aoki bounces one softly to first. Goldschmidt to second. That is all they'll get. Delgado covering first. So fielder's choice bounce out. 1 away. Joe Panic comes up, represented the tying run in a 4-2 game with 1 gone in the 8th. As Panic's doubled in the 6th. They gave the Giants their first hit of the day against Alan Webster. He'd later score on a double from Posey. Fastball at 94, strike one.
Joe Panic, one of those little guys that has surprising power. Good bat speed. If he gets a ball from the middle of the plate in, he can turn on it. Really surprise you. 6 home runs on the season.
Couple of them this week in New York. That one gets by Saltalamacchia. Aoki to second. The Panic and Duffy, a couple of guys who are not big, powerful looking guys, having their own little home run derby this year. Joking around about that. Panic with 6 of them. Duffy with 5 in the early going.
And Randall Delgado really spraying the ball around here in this inning. Has missed his spot by a wide margin on several occasions already.
Two and one. Former Atlanta Brave Randall Delgado, acquired in the Justin Upton deal a couple of years ago. Former starter. 2-1. Panic lays off. Good take. 3 balls and a strike.
I don't think there's much question if Delgado loses Panic here. Chip Hale's going to go to his bullpen. The on-deck hitter Angel Pagan is 5 for 9 lifetime with a couple of doubles against Randall Delgado. I don't think Chip's going to allow the right-hander to face the switch-hitting Pagan.
Dangerous pitch to Panic. Here's a 3-1. Line to left, right at Peralta, who leaps up and makes the play. Well, no excuse about the sun anymore. I think that ball just kind of took off on him. He was lucky to be able to pull it in for the second out.
That ball was squared up pretty good by Joe Panic. A lot of backspin. Really fooled David Peralta out there in left field. He came in a step or two, then froze in his tracks, and then had to backpedal and jump to make the play.
So Panic lines to Peralta, and Pagan comes up with 2 gone in the 8th inning. Arizona's in front by 2. We got to this score on Pagan sacrifice fly 2 innings ago. Delgado's first one is a strike. Saltalamacchia wanted it outside, missed in, but got a strike call. Perfectly placed, nothing in 2. Giants in danger of wasting a leadoff single. Casey McGee, who's batting out of the 9 spot. Aoki's at second with 2 away. And an 0-2 to Angel Pagan. Fastball golf foul. Pagan, good numbers in his career against Delgado, 5 for 9. Seems to be seeing him decently well. Seeing a lot of fastballs. Trying to turn one around and bring San Francisco closer. Off speed, pulled on the ground to first. Goldschmidt feeds Delgado, and the inning is over. Giants waste a leadoff single and trail 4-2 as we march to the 9th in San Francisco. Together in Cincinnati for the Midsummer Classic with home field advantage for the World Series on the line. Our coverage of the 2015 All-Star Game begins July 14th at 7 Eastern right here on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. To the ninth inning, it's San Fran 4-2. Giants in front. George Contos, the fourth reliever into the game for the Giants, and the pen has kept them in it.
Absolutely, and George Contos has kept the Giants in a lot of ball games this year. 1.69 ERA in his 29 ball games. He's held the opposition to an .057 batting average when he's had runners in scoring position.
Yeah, he gets a swinging strike from Ahmed to begin. A couple of moves. McGee stays in the game and plays third. Matt Duffy shifts over to second. He is a middle infielder by trade. Just playing third this year out of really desperation with McGee's struggles there. Contos quickly ahead 0-2. Once he records an out in this inning, he'll be tied for the National League lead among relievers in innings pitched. Boy, all kinds of movement on that.
He doesn't throw anything straight. That ball just was diving in on the hands of Nick Ahmed right there. Had to fight it off. Watch the movement on this two-seamer as it gets into the hitting zone, right in on the hands of Nick Ahmed. Fouled it out of play.
He checks on McGee at third for the first out. Arizona's in front 4-2. Contos trying to keep it that way. Give the middle third of the Giants order a chance. The bottom of the ninth inning, likely against Brad Ziegler. Ender Inciarte with his first at bat today after the double switch. Checking in as a defensive replacement for Yasmani Tomas in right. Where the sun is still a factor. Inciarte rolls one to second, and Duffy throws him out. Now a story today for the Diamondbacks. Alan Webster in his first start in a Diamondbacks uniform, called up from AAA where he had an ERA of 9 while battling shoulder problems. He took a no-hitter into the 6th inning.
Certainly nothing about the numbers at the AAA levels would foretell what we saw today from Alan Webster, but given the state of this Diamondbacks rotation, Alan Webster's probably earned himself another start, if not a bunch of starts. That's the thing about the Diamondbacks. They play great defense. They score runs. They've got a strong offense. They just need some work in that rotation. And talking to Tony La Russa, the chief baseball officer, and Dave Stewart, the general manager, to John Watson, his assistant, I think the Diamondbacks will be very active at the trade deadline. They think with the offense and defense they have in place and some nice pieces in the bullpen, they may be in the market for a starting pitcher or two come the deadline.
There's a bouncing ball to short, and George Contos induces 3 ground outs. More work from the bullpen. Well done by the Giants. Ziegler comes on. Posey comes up to lead off the ninth. Middle third of the Giants order. San Francisco needs 2 to tie and 3 to win. Not going to be easy. Buster Posey leads off the ninth, then takes ball one.
And clearly you can see the submarine delivery from Brad Ziegler. Throws a fastball in the mid-80s, a straight change-up, and a frisbee-like slider from that submarine delivery.
There's a strike to Posey. He's 1 for 2 today with an RBI double in that 2-run sixth inning. D-backs with 3 in the first, 1 in the fourth. Here's a 1-1. He bunts it, foul, 1-2.
Yeah, fans are oohing and awing a little bit, but I don't think that's a bad play by Buster Posey. They're playing him way, way back on the left side of the infield. Giants are trailing by 2. They need a base runner and then somebody to hit one out of the ballpark. So Buster just trying to get on base ahead of Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford.
Posey leading off this ninth with a bouncing ball to third. Lamb throws him out, 1 away. Well, Diamondbacks fans, be sure to tune in tomorrow for the final game of this series on Fox Sports Arizona. Coverage starts at 12:30 Pacific. He'll be headed back over there for the D-backs call. The series finale. Diamondbacks are 2 outs away from making that a chance at a sweep tomorrow. Brandon Belt 0 for 3 today. Catches a corner, strike 1. Belt trying to reach in front of Crawford, who's tied for the team lead with 9 home runs. Pull shift is on. 0-1 pitch. 0-2.
It should be a good pitching matchup tomorrow. Ruby De La Rosa, who's been spectacularly inconsistent so far this year. At times amazing, at other times not so much. And Mr. No-hitter, Chris Heston, taking the ball for the Giants.
1-2 on Belt. Now De La Rosa twice connected with today's starter Alan Webster in trades. They were both Dodgers farmhands dealt to the Red Sox, and then they were both Red Sox dealt to the Diamondbacks. 1-2.
Yeah, the trade that sent them from LA to Boston, one of the most spectacular salary dumps in the history of baseball. Josh Beckett, Adrian Gonzalez,
Carl
Crawford.
Another 1-2 to Belt. Lays off a change. Enticing. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 2-run game in the 9th inning. The 35-year-old veteran trying to pick up his 8th save. Worked a 1-2-3 ninth in the 1-0 win last night. Belt again lays off a changeup. Full count. Crawford due next. Looked like Bob Brenly in that 4-air game there.
That's rough.
Does that mean he's going to hit a walk-off home run now?
Just give me a chance, coach. The bad hop.
Belt pulls one down the line. That's a fair ball into the corner. Dug out by Enciarte. Throw to second is late. And the Giants still alive in the 9th.
One thing about a submarine or low sidearm delivery pitcher, the more pitches you see, the better your chances of ultimately getting on one. Long extended at bat that time by Belt. That sinker working its way back toward the middle of the plate, and he intercepted it and ripped it down into the corner in right.
So the Giants get the tying run to the plate in the form of their home run leader, Brandon Crawford, with 1 gone in the 9th inning. That's hit sharply. What a play by Hill to throw him out. Up to third goes Belt. 2 gone in the 9th inning. That thing got on him in a hurry.
Woo. That's a defensive play right there. Scalded one hopper just a little bit to Aaron Hill's left. He plays it off to the side perfectly and pitches on over to Goldie for the out. He knocked him right off his feet.
And so it is up to Matt Duffy, who's gone deep 5 times this season. Giants down to their final out. Ziegler's first one. Zips in for a strike. There you go. Redemption for him.
Bounce back.
Another than 2 on Duffy. Giants now down to their final strike. Got their first 2 runs of this series in the 6th inning. Need 2 more to keep it alive. Ziegler's a strike away from another save. Chopper to third. Lamb across the diamond. And the D-backs have taken the first 2 from the Giants. 1-0 on Friday and 4-2 tonight. Brad Ziegler gets the save and gets the win for Alan Webster in his Diamondbacks debut. For Bob Brenly, Joe Davis wishing you good evening from San Fran. Coming up after this break, we'll take it to Kevin Burkhardt in our LA studio.